I swear, Wednesdays are always the worst for going back to work. It's always a long, long day. I swear, where's my Calgon to take me away?
With someone you are with.
Well, it's about 6 something in the morning, and so just getting off work. So I like to, do a video when a user, asks me a question or something like that. I'll try to make a video response to it. So this is a response to Strength and Valor. He pretty much just asked me, hey, can you do a video on, some of the reliability issues and mechanical problems that, that the car is pretty much, plagued with, and so on and so forth, and, whatever. So, pretty much, a lot of M3 guys will pretty much tell me I'm beating a dead horse in this, because I post everything to M3 Post and to the Facebook groups and stuff like that, and it's probably got to really annoy the shit out of some of them. But not everybody's on the groups, not everybody's on the post, and even if they are, maybe they haven't heard of it. So here we go. I just did a little bit of research last night, just to make sure that I wasn't missing anything. But predominantly for the E9x M3, there are typically 3 major things that go wrong that I've seen most of. Not with my car, thankfully, but with other people's cars, looking through the forums and just checking, online. And those 3 major things are throttle actuators being one. And let me tell you what goes on with the throttle actuators. BMW's got a habit, and they even did this on the E36 M3, of using cheap parts. So on the E36 M3, the water pump would fail because it's made of like a nylon plastic or something, the water pump wheel, and over time, just with heat and everything, it loosens the wheel up, and then the gear ends up, or the spindle ends up spinning the gear or the water pulley wheel off, and it gets lodged inside your engine. That actually happened to mine. But it's the same thing with the throttle actuators. There's little gears in there that actuate and they turn to control your throttle. And they are made of probably the same nylon gears and plastic, whatever the hell compound that to use. I remember nylon gears being in like 1960s and 70s cars for the timing chain, and the timing would go out on the car because the nylon gears would crack and break, and so we would always replace them with the steel gears, and you never had a problem anymore. But for some odd reason, here it is. My car's 2008. And this is from 2008 to 2013, and they still put nylon gears, automotive manufacturers. It's like, why would you skip out? How hard is it to really make an aluminum gear? Even with my E36, I'll go into the whole E36 whenever I show you guys E36, and little minor things, but E36 with the power seats. On the luxury M3 models, and power seats in general, this freaking gear that makes your seat go back and forth like this part right here, it was made of the same material too, and it would just wear away. So thankfully, somebody has made an aluminum replacement, and I bought that and replaced it. It wasn't big of too big of a deal. It cost me like maybe an hour's worth of work. Just a point behind the matter. Come on, use better materials these days. So throttle actuators, basically there's 2 of them, one for each bank, and Pretty much they're expensive. They're roughly, what I'm seeing is anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200 from BMW, and for them to put it in, it's another couple grand because they have to take the top end of the engine off, and they want you to replace both at the same time. Because they figure if one gear is going bad in one, the gear is probably going bad in the other one. It makes sense. But somebody's got to have a rebuild kit. I mean, it's a mechanical device. It's got to be a rebuild kit. And I'm seriously thinking about buying a used throttle actuator online just so I can see what the inside of it looks like. You just can't buy the gear itself. You got to buy the whole thing. And maybe have the gears mass produced and sell them on the forums. Why not, you know? Or even, you know, rebuild them myself and then send them out for a fraction of the price, you know, than it would be to get them from BMW. That's just a good alternative. So the next thing that typically people have problems with is the idle air control valve. Typically this is going to make your car idle, I guess, really, really rough. I know the ICVs, the idle control valves on the E9x M3 were notorious for sticking. I mean, notorious. I've taken mine off several times, and you know, there's a little flapper thing in there, and when you pull it off, you can't hear the thing flap because it's got too much carbon buildup on the little shaft that's in there. And it was the same thing on my Mustang. I had a Mustang 5.0 GT. I had a little shaft that moved up and down. It would get full of carbon, and it would stick, so it would be stuck in like a high idle or a low idle. Really weird. So you just take it apart, spray some, you know, gunk stuff in there, like not degreaser, but like you know, throttle body cleaner or something like that. Spray that in there, shake it, you know, whatever. Then you can hear the flapper go pop, 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 inside the thing. I'm pretty sure it's fairly the same here. I don't know the mechanics of how it works on this car. Because it's not a really big failure on this car, but it is known to fail, and I've heard it more than one time. That's why I'm mentioning it. It's something that's not common, but more common than more of the other problems. And then the third one, which I'm sure you've heard about, is the rod bearing issue. Let me explain how that works. When BMW builds an engine, you know, they build their engines really precise, and you know, that's good and that's bad. You know, being precise means that the car is going to run probably a little bit better, a little bit more refined than, say, you know, just say for example, an older Mustang engine, which literally the clearances are so sloppy you could just slap the thing together and it will run. Well, not really so much with BMWs, and they didn't really leave enough clearance between the crank and the rod bearing, the bearings that go on the crank. And so what's happening is that the 10W60 oil is not heating up and thinning out quick enough to get in between the rod bearings, and it's causing failures. So there's been a couple different scenarios, or you know, temporary fixes that I guess BMW and people on the forums have been recommending. If you watch my maintenance video, you'll see that 0W40 oil. BMW and other people I've heard have been recommending to run that during the summer if it gets sub-zero temperatures like here in New York. You see I'm wearing a hoodie already, and it's we're in August. So not that it's super cold out, but it's just freezing in my office. So I just had it on. But so with the 0W40, it's a little bit thinner, and it heats up faster than the 10W60. It's able to get in between the bearings and lubricate a little bit better, especially on cold starting. Apparently that there's a new revision of different alloys of new bearings. So when they replace the bearings, they put in the updated bearings, which I'm already reading that those bearings too are getting wear also, and the Blackstone analysis doesn't pick up the alloy that's being used. Oh, excuse me. That's being used, so therefore it's even harder to detect than the older rod bearings. And this was prevalent in the 2008 to 2010 models. I believe they switched over to a different bearing type between 2011 and 2013. That is roughly what I'm hearing, anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500, maybe even $3,000. I went to a garage and asked them down here in upstate New York, this place called Barbarian Rocket Science, and he was spitting off numbers like $5,000. I'm just giving him like the eyes, like, yeah, I'm not gonna pay $5,000. Not when I can take it to probably the dealership and get it done for half price. I don't know why garages do that sometimes. It's like they overstate the price. Maybe they don't want your business, or maybe they're just too busy. So those are, common issues with the M3, the E9x M3s. Now, I just, I don't really know too much about the 335. That's really not my gig. 328s, 325s, 323, 320s. I don't know anything about those. I drove a couple 318s back in the E36, a 92 and 94 model. But I just happened to go on the forums and just look at common problems with the E9x 335. And it had 24 items that were wrong with it. And my coworker, he's got a 335, right? 335i. And I'm going down through the list, and it's like wastegate failures, and valve cover cracking, and valve cover gaskets, and turbo something, and all this. Oh, injectors getting screwed up. And he's had to replace all that on his. So I know that these are definitely common failures. Thankfully his was under warranty, okay, when he bought his. And it was just weird that he was experiencing so many failures. And they're looking at me, and he didn't buy an M3 just because he was a little worried about how much things were going to cost to fix on that thing. And even the HID, something like the leveling headlights or something went out on his, and that was on the list too. And BMW tried to tell him, oh, you're going to need a whole new headlight. $1,600, right? He went in there with his own hand, because we're all engineers, figure out the mechanics of how it worked, and pop this device or whatever. It's like an eye back into the socket or something, and it works just fine. It self-levels itself, but it was like unbelievable the amount of problems that he's had with his. Thankfully, he won't have it anymore, and if somebody were to buy his car today, they probably won't experience those problems at all, because they've all been replaced, which is exactly why I buy used BMWs. So, who knows? I didn't really probably do the biggest background check on this and how many things went wrong, but, I looked at the BMW service records, are all with it. I didn't see anything, abnormal, but that's not to say that something wasn't recorded that happened and he just didn't take it to, the dealership or something and doesn't have it logged. So those are the basic failures, typically with the E9x M3, and like I said, even a couple for the 335, because a lot of people, they buy the 335. I can't knock it. It's just not my thing. I'm an M guy. I like the M's. So, if you have any other, typical, things that you guys know of that goes wrong with the cars. Oh, and I'll just map out a couple things about the E46 M3. The rear subframe cracks on the car. And also that has rod bearing issues. And the SMG pump always has problems. So even on that car, you have your own things. The E36, don't even get me on that of the I'm not going to lie, okay? The car is going to fall apart. But it's super easy to fix, and parts are really not cheap, but they're cheap. I mean, come on, they're probably like Honda Civic, type, cost for the parts. The engine is still expensive, but the engine is pretty damn sound in the E36. So thankfully, we don't have too many issues there. So, okay guys, leave some comments, but this is for you, Strength and Valor. So, I'll definitely hit you up and let you know that I made a video. And you know, and let me know what you guys think. You know, let me know maybe some problems that you've experienced with yours, and you know, put them in the comments because I'd like to hear it. I've checked the forums, and you know, people joke and they said the biggest problems that they got is for the E9X is it drinks gas and you get too many tickets. Well, haven't got any tickets. Well, yes. What am I talking about? I have gotten tickets. I just got out of 2 of them. And yes, the thing drinks gas like I wouldn't believe. But thankfully, for some odd reason, my car is now at 138,000 miles. I'm getting better gas mileage than I did when I bought it at 82,000. So the engine must be good and broken in, and everything's just running, you know, tip top like I should, and you know, I'm getting really maximum efficiency out of the engine. So there we go, guys. Thank you for watching as always, and you know, like I said, if you have any suggestions for some videos, you know, let me know. You know, I try to do these on my way to work and on my way home. So all right, guys, have a good one. I'll be going home and going to sleep. All right, guys, take care.
With someone you are.